to be honest, I do think it was really worth it for this upgrade for the camera specifically. Hi Slayers, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eileen, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I'm going to be giving you a little 1.5 week review on it. So a little backstory about why I upgraded. So I came from an iPhone 14, just the base model and the small one, and I originally wanted to go for the 17 Pro, but at my Apple store they only had the Pro Max, so I decided that I would give it a try, even though I technically don't really like bigger phones. So I tried it out for this week and a half, and I'm going to most likely be returning it because I just feel like a big phone is not for me. I do have small hands, and I just feel like I was kind of lugging it around. But I know plenty of people who have the Pro one and they only use the Pro one because they feel like it's better for their eyes, and I will say that we could talk a little bit more on that later, but I do really like the display. But my iPhone 14 is really cracked, and I felt like whenever I would take photos I wished there was more zoom, or I wish I could get crisper photos, and so I was kind of in the mood to upgrade my phone. So when I tell you all of these things, it's from the perspective of someone who upgraded from a slightly older phone, and I'm not saying that the 14 was really giving me any major problems. My main concerns with it were the camera and the battery life, and also I cracked it a lot, so I would have liked a phone that does not have a cracked screen, but cracking the screen was definitely my fault, so it's not like that really factors into it too much. So here is my iPhone 17 Pro Max. I was able to get it in the deep blue color, and this is the base model, even though, well, this phone is not the base model of all the iPhones, it's actually the biggest and most expensive, but it is the one with the lowest amount of storage. So it has 256 gigabytes, which is actually what my first Mac laptop had as storage, which I think is a little bit crazy. So my first impressions of this phone was that it was really fast. The screen felt really fast, the apps feel really fast, and I feel like the update enhanced this phone so much. It really enhanced my own personal phone as well. I loved the glass update in iOS 26, but I really felt like it fit so well on this phone because it just had this massive display to look at, and everything felt like fresh and new, which doesn't happen for every Apple generation. Some of the phones feel exactly like the older phones, so this was a really fun and new experience for me to have, especially coming from a slightly older phone. Screens on this devices support ProMotion display, which is what I have on my Pro MacBook, and it's also what I had on my Pro iPad, so it feels really nice and it feels really fresh, and you can swipe through things really easily, and it looks really, really good. I wouldn't say that you need a device that has ProMotion, and I certainly have used plenty of devices that don't, but when you have it, it's always a really fast feel, and so I felt like I was flying through these apps sometimes. Now, I don't typically use my phone for a lot of performance-heavy things, so I didn't notice like a ton in this department, but what I did notice a ton was in the camera department, and that's of course what everyone always talks about. And to be honest, I do think it was really worth it for this upgrade for the camera specifically. So these cameras here are all 48 megapixels on the back, and you could really tell that these zooms were crispier than my zooms from my iPhone 14. While they are not like amazing, spectacular, it's still going to be phone quality. I did feel like I could tell a pretty decent difference. And the selfie camera being 18 megapixels was also a pretty decent difference. I have these two reference photos here where, like, I don't know if my phone didn't focus at all, but you could really see my freckles whenever I took a picture with the iPhone 17, which I felt like was cool, and that was definitely something that made me feel like it was worth the upgrade. It's always nice when you can notice an actual difference between your old and new tech, but something I really enjoyed was the 8x zoom, and it actually came in handy for like a very practical reason recently. So I allegedly maybe get on a bus that I'm not supposed to sometimes, and I wanted to know what the schedule of this bus was, and I kind of saw it, but it was pretty far from where I was sitting, so I like zoomed in on my phone to take a picture, and I realized that I couldn't read it at all no matter how much I zoomed. So then I was like, oh my gosh, I have my new phone that I'm trying out, so let me try that one, and I was able to get that picture so much crisper, and I could actually read like every single schedule moment. So it was really cool, and that is an interesting situation that I didn't think I would need a zoom for, but it was nice to know that this zoom actually is a huge difference from my camera. Something else I really like about the camera on this phone is that you have dual capture, which I just thought was really fun. I would take a little video like at concerts and stuff, and I could see my reaction and the person's reaction. Now I know that's kind of like a thing that Snapchat already had, but if you don't want to use Snapchat, it's nice to have it integrated into your phone, and I felt like it was a cool and fun feature and something that could could probably be applied to other iPhones, but right now it's just on the 17s, and I really, really liked it. The other thing I really, really liked was the ability to film or take a picture horizontally while holding the phone vertically. So like I could hold it just like this, but I'm taking the picture horizontal because of the sensor in here, which I thought was really cool. But it doesn't work for like the back cameras, or at least I haven't figured out how to make it work for the back cameras. So that is something I would have liked to see if you're gonna roll out that kind of feature. I feel like it should be on both, but at least it's on the selfie side, which is kind of where you might be taking like a really wide selfie, or if you're a vlogger. So I think that has a really cool potential to be used. Now, one thing I will say about these phones is that you can shoot ProRes 4K 120 frames per second footage. And I tried it out just for like fun, and I didn't really feel like I needed it. I just felt like I was wasting storage. I felt like the footage looked a little dark. So personally, I don't think I'll be using it for that. That's what I have my camera over here for. And I'm not really sure in what situation you might use that for. I have really no idea, but let me know if you use the 4K 120 on your phone. I am curious like what you could use that for, maybe like sports. And also I noticed that sometimes the camera could be a tiny bit glitchy, especially when using like the dual capture feature, which I thought was a little strange, but also I was probably pushing it to its limits. I was doing dual capture and trying to zoom, and I don't think it liked that very much. So overall, I am very happy with the camera on this thing. That is probably my favorite feature about this phone, and it's probably a lot of you guys' favorite feature on this phone. And even compared to my smaller cameras, I felt like this was really nice, because even though I have like cameras that I take around with me sometimes, there is just something about the ease of use of pulling out your iPhone that is hard to beat. I'm glad that the camera quality is improving, especially as someone that, like, you know, maybe owns a YouTube channel or something. Now, another thing about performance was that these phones have a vapor chamber inside of them, which basically means they should be not getting as hot as easily, which helps their performance and just is generally better for a device. But I don't push my phones a ton, so I don't really know what exactly I'd be feeling for in this, but it didn't feel hot, and I do technically have a lot of apps open, so I never felt it get warm, which was good. And the other thing is the battery life, and I do really feel like this battery life lasts a long time, and it could technically last 39 hours of video playback, which sounds crazy to me, but really, as somebody that's always on the go and somebody who's like all across college campus, I want my phone to be just at its charged peak for as long as it possibly can be, and this was doing that for me just fine. And I really liked it, and honestly I probably didn't even have to charge it every night, even though I did. I think it probably would have lasted into the next day a little bit. And it charges super, super fast, so I can just stick it on the charger and then it's like bam, I could take it off whenever I want because it goes super fast. So I really appreciate that about it, and that's something that on the newer phones, of course, you're probably not going to feel as big of a difference, but with someone with a couple generations back, I think that you would feel a decent difference. Now, as far as price and overall value, I actually think it's not a bad value. iPhones have pretty consistently been in like the 1200-ish range for like the last couple years, and I do feel like that the upgrades on this kind of make that price a little bit more worth it. Now, do I think that phones should cost thousands of dollars? Not really, but they do, and so just judging the fact that they have kind of consistently been this price, I don't feel like they crazily bumped up the price or anything, and it still kind of fits within what the iPhones in past have been. But I also hardly know anyone that buys it from the store like I did. A lot of people get it through their carriers, which usually has like a really small upgrade fee, and then you kind of like lease it, and I feel like that's probably a lot more budget-friendly, like conscious option for most people. Definitely check with your carriers how much it is to upgrade your phone, because it might not be as much as you're thinking. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about this whole new design. Now this has a case on it, but I can take it off real quick. Take it off! So this is the brand new design, and you can see there's definitely a couple of differences. There is this camera bump up here, and it's thicker and heavier than previous Pro models, and it is a unibody display in the back, so it's not like a glass back anymore. It's all aluminum, and it has like a really nice feel to it. I do feel like it feels sturdier than some phones that are made of glass. I just don't trust myself around glass. I break things all the time, but I'm someone that keeps my phone in a case anyways, so I'm not sure that I'm the right person to answer. Is this super durable? Is it more durable than the last phone? But I haven't been getting any scratches on it because it's been in its case, but I have heard that some people who use it without the case have been getting scratches, so that's something to keep in mind. But if you're someone that keeps it in a case, which personally I think you should, then I think it'll be totally fine. It apparently also has a better reflective display here, but I didn't notice a huge difference. I feel like it was similarly reflective to how my phone was, but I'm sure that it was doing something, so that was nice. And it also has a brightness of 3000 nits, which was much higher than my phone, which I didn't realize, and so it definitely felt bright. And like I said earlier, the display is just so nice. It made me like want to watch Netflix on my phone, which I hardly ever want to do. This is just like such a huge 6.9-inch display, and it looks really crispy, the colors look good, everything feels so fast that the display is 100% worth it if you're someone that's looking for a really nice display in your phone. I know my parents like to have the biggest display possible because they're like really old, so they like always get the Pro, and this definitely delivered for them. I feel like they would really like this phone because the display just looks so good and is so big. I also think it would be good for people who have like lower eyesight or just like need a bigger screen for whatever reason it may be. I'm not saying like that's a bad thing, it definitely isn't. I think that this phone is really nice and helps be a little bit more accessible to people. I also think that the action button is nice, but it's not as nice as I thought it would be. I just kept hitting it by accident and I felt like it was a little annoying, but maybe it's just because I'm not used to it. I do know a lot of people really rely on it for the camera feature, so there's pros and cons, but personally, it wasn't something I loved. But no, this has been a very positive review, and I am someone that really likes Apple products and iPhones, and I do really like this phone, but I will not be keeping this phone because it's just too big for my hands. Like, look at this. I feel like every time I was holding it, I felt like it was gonna fall out of my hand. I do notice the extra weight, and that's totally fine because I like the idea of having better cameras for extra weight. I don't think that's something that will necessarily deter me, but it will deter me from the Pro Max. I, however, think I will be getting the Pro soon to replace this, so. And while I really like how big the screen is, I just felt like it was a tiny bit hard for me to maneuver to like the top of the phone or to just text people one-handed. I really couldn't do that here. It was always like a two-hand moment. The actual weight of this phone is 8.22 ounces, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in comparison to the regular 17, which is only 6 ounces, there is like a decently sized difference. And also this is Apple's thickest phone, so there is like a difference in the weight and the overall size of this device. So I actually will be returning this phone, but not because I don't love any of these features that I talked about. It's mostly just because it's a little bit too big for my hands and just for what I like in a phone. I felt like it fit a little bit weird in my jean pocket or like in my bag, and I felt like I was carrying around this like massive device, and I figured to myself that I might get used to it over this week and a half, but I really didn't, so I hopefully will be getting the 17 Pro instead, and then I will make a new video about that probably. But I will say that if you're someone that likes the big display, then this is of course a really good phone for you. I think that the camera features are definitely worth it, and I think that the display is genuinely beautiful, but it's just something that's not super practical for me. So if you know you're a small hand girly, or if you're someone that's coming from a smaller iPhone, especially like a mini iPhone, then I would suggest probably getting the Pro instead, because it might just feel a little bit more at home for you. Ultimately, I kind of wished that I liked the bigger phones because I think they look really pretty, and I feel like for like especially people who like edit TikToks a lot, it's really nice to have a little bit more screen real estate, but at the end of the day, it was not quite for me. So while I think that this is a really great phone overall, and I actually think that the value is pretty decent, I do think that it's important that you get the size that fits you best. So what can I say other than size matters, and I apparently need a smaller phone. Anyway, Slayers, that is the end of this little review, but please let me know if you are team big or small phone, or if you have any like comments or questions about the newer model, because I would love to answer them, and hopefully I will talk to you all soon. Bye!